5% for the oil producing community is too low.
But the support that is needed. And once you get the support, your airline people will blossom.
This is Nigeria. You need to give people sense of belonging.
Good morning and welcome to Inside Nigeria, coming to you live from Leadership Podcast Studios. My name is Tion Joseph, and as usual this morning, I'll be reading to you major stories from 5 different Nigerian newspapers. And I'd like to start this morning with Nigeria's most influential newspaper, which is the Leadership newspaper. And on Leadership this morning, the major story says, "End in sight for ASU strike as FG reviews no work, no pay policy." You can read that story more on page 4. Now, moving down to the bullets there, the first one says, "Meets with vice chancellors, pro-chancellors in renewed efforts to end strike." Next bullet point says, "Inaugurates 14-man committee to revisit Briggs report." Very last bullet for Leadership this morning says, "Infinite strike anguish, internal turmoil to me, Adamu." That is all we'll be taking for Leadership this morning before we hand over. But before then, you can find much more stories on our website. If you just head to www.leadership.ng, you can read these stories and even much more. You could also grab a copy at the nearest newspaper stand by you. On the next newspaper this morning, we'll be looking at THISDAY. On THISDAY, the major story says, "ASU strike, FG will not sign agreement it cannot implement, says minister." Few bullets down there. First one says, "Government reiterates offer to include 200 billion naira in 2023 budget for varsities revitalization outstanding arrears." Next one says it can only afford 23.5% salary increase. Next one says professorial cadre to get 35% upward review. Next one says constitutes team to review Briggs committee to recommendations. Very last bullet of today on this day says VCs recommend 800,000 naira salary for professors. That is all we'll be taking for this day. We'll move briskly to the Guardian. And on the Guardian this morning, the major story says FG to revisit no work, no pay as VCs push to end strike. We are seeing this story again. We saw it on Leadership, seeing it again on the Guardian. Must be serious. Now, I won't do justice to that because I will leave it for panel discussion later on. But the bullets on the Guardian this morning says, FG announces 23.5% salary rise for lecturers. Next one says, VC's committee for 50% increase. Sorry, I'll take that again. VC's committee push for 50% increase. Okay. Adamu, we have done our best to end strike. Very next one says Buhari raises committee to look into ASU's demands. Next one says Akabweze petrol subsidy funds can be channeled to ASU to increase workers' pay. Next one, the bullet says Anglican bishop to ASU, FG not ready for you, return to class. Next bullet says let's declare 3-day strike, Labour leader tells NLC TUC. Second to the last bullet on Guardian this morning says Kanu moves to pull out of 7-month strike. Very last bullet on the Guardian this morning says management can force us to resume. Kaduna lecturers insist. That is what we have for you on the Guardian. Let's move to the next paper, and that will be the Punch. Our punchy headline this morning says anti-drug war. LG freezes 600 accounts, seizes 249 luxury vehicles. You can find that story on page 2. Moving down there, the first bullet says NDLEA confiscates $1.3 million, 102,000 pounds, 14 million franc, 252 million naira drug proceeds. Next bullet says court orders interim forfeiture of billionaire Ukatu's 25 property factory. Don't buy drugs for youths. Agency warns politicians ahead of campaigns. That is all we'll be taking for Punch this morning. Let's move briskly to the next daily, which is The Nation. And on The Nation that we are in this morning, the major story says, ASU, government raises 14-man panel to resolve knotty issues. We have 2 bullets there. We'll take them. First one says 23.5% pay rise for teachers likely. That's good news. Very last bullet says return to classroom. Bishop urges teachers. Again, we are seeing this story for the third time on today's dailies. Okay, let's move to the next Nigerian daily. On my list, we have Vanguard. Now, Vanguard this morning, major story says PDP, fresh plot to oust IU on Ali's plan counter moves. We take just two bullets, the first two bullets there before we move to the next publication. First bullet on Vanguard this morning says weakest group in fresh plot to oust IU, NWC backs him. The last one will be taken says why Atiku must preside over NEC session, BOT member. That's all we'll be having for Vanguard this morning. Let's move briskly to the very, okay, that is all we have for today entirely. Thank you very much for joining us. But as usual, don't go yet because after here, we are having a full panel discussion on these topics and much more because our host, Winifred, is in the house and she is not alone, but she's the public affairs analyst, Jide Ojo. So I indulge you to stay tuned and get more from them. My name is Tion Joseph, and do have a great day. Thank you.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Good morning and welcome to midweek edition of Inside Nigeria. It's a pleasure to be with you on today's program, and of course have my triple chief, who is a public affairs analyst, TV host, and a syndicated columnist with me on the program, Jide Ojo. Jide, it's always a pleasure to have you on the program.
Winifred,
and of course, I've missed you all this while I've been away.
You are welcome back after a war. You went on a war.
Oh yes, indeed. My name is Winifred Bebo, and welcome once again. Yes, we just read the review of the major dailies we have on our program today, and we are going to be talking about two topical issues that dominate today's headline news, and that is that of ASU. ASU has been on strike for about almost 7 months now. They started it February 14th, and they are still counting. The story that has dominated the leading stories on today's newspapers. And we'll also be looking at the coming polls. INEC just published a list of registered voters. We're also going to be looking at that because Jide Ojo, you are an expert on electoral issues. Yes. So what is your take now? This is federal government is meeting with VCs, and they said it's ready to revisit the no work, no pay issue. So how is that going to play out at the end of the day?
Well, I think we are inching very closer to, or we are inching close to the end of this very unfortunate development in educational sector. 7 months, over 200 days that the ASU has been on strike. Out of 9 months, or getting to 9 months, it does leave a very sore taste in the mouth, because for those of us who have had the privilege of going to university, a semester is just 3 months. So 3 months of lecture, 1 month of examination. So a session is 8 months approximately. And if you are you have kept students at home for this long, it then shows that our education sector is suffering. And the implication is very wide. It's not only the students and the lecturers and their parents that are suffering. Even the economy of the schools have suffered immeasurable loss, because there are property owners who rented their apartments to these students. For those whose rent has expired, they cannot renew rent while when they didn't know when the school will resume to, when academics will resume. Those food vendors on campuses, those who provide ancillary services such as business centers where you make photocopies, where you type projects and other documents and all of that. All of them have there have been collateral damage and collateral losses. Then you talk about logistics, transport. Those Achaba or Okada riders who provide transportation around the school premises, those who offer, other forms of transportation. All of them have been put out of business for this length of time. So when you put the total loss together, it's very huge. We are talking of billions of naira loss, but what about time loss? The time and future that have been lost. And you look again on the flip side, the implication. Many of these students have become deviant.
Yes.
Many of them have joined all manner of deviant groups like internet fraudsters.
Yes.
They've become political talks. Some girls have become pregnant, awaiting delivery, and that in itself would be a cog in the wheel of their academic progress. Some have become high-profile prostitutes, because they have to make ends meet. And of course, we also should not lose sight of those who have made the best of their time by learning one vocation or the other. There are those who have gone to learn online, courses. Some have enrolled in learning different vocations like, hairdressing, barbing, even computer literacy and all of that. So for those category of students, I commend them for making the best of their time, even when they know despite not having any end in sight. Some have acquired some skills, so they cannot do makeup, they can do tying of edges, and through that they can be making little money for themselves when the school resume. So for this category of students, I say, kudos, bravo. But more importantly, I hope this strike will not go beyond this month of September, because the implication is very grave.
That's what I want to also say. I was just waiting for it to run out, because federal government is saying, on the other hand, that it's not going to sign any agreement it cannot implement. What are you saying? Because we have so many incessant strikes over the years, because maybe government will be railroaded. Most governments, previous government have been railroaded into signing agreements. That's what has increased these look at the demands. Because even Keyamo was it last week said that it was because of this ASU, because of the previous government who signed this homologous agreement with ASU. So they are finding difficult to implement. So what do you say?
Keyamo should go and sit down.
And don't also forget that, like a minister once said, that federal government has become the highest payment labor, because all these unions together, they go into strike. Federal government accede to their demand. You say the federal government is not paying even more than the private sector, which is not supposed to be.
Well, I don't know. I disagree with Festus Keyamo saying, with due respect, it shouldn't be saying that previous government. We've seen there's even under this administration, ASU has recorded one of his longest strikes. So what are you now saying, or what ways are you making comparison? In 2020, wait now, in 2020, ASU went on strike for 9 months, and they signed an agreement on December 23rd, 2020. Did they, or did the APC administration did they implement that agreement, memorandum of action that was signed? So he's indicting his own government too. If he's saying the government, is it today they just realize that the government will not sign an agreement that they cannot implement? Yes, that's the standard practice. You should not enter into agreement or that you cannot implement. But you should also note, Festus Kayama should also note that this is not a very good optics for his administration, for the government in which he is serving. Because all said and done, that's why I said it's in their enlightened best interest to quickly nip this in the bud.
Okay, now
because campaigns are starting, and I'm sure the opposition will jibe at APC for recording one of the longest industrial action.
As we speak, NMA, Nigerian Medical Association, is also warming up its voice on strike. So how are you going to arrest this incessant strike in Nigeria?
I'm not sure there is any administration that can arrest completely industrial action. Even in UK, there are those who are still going on strike. In US, there are those who are still going on strike. And these are developed democracies. I mean, we just had what's her name, Liz Truss, because being inaugurated as the new British Prime Minister. There is rising cost of living in UK, energy crisis, cost of energy, both fuel and even right. If UK is not immune, how would Nigeria be immune? I'm not making excuses for this administration. The point is that they have also behaved as irresponsible as PDP government has behaved in its 16 years of administration. So a pot should not be calling a kettle black. That is my own standpoint. I ASU on this issue. I mean, ASU strike. I went to school in the early 90s. We experienced ASU strike. That was even under the military. So it has become a recurring. Let's look at that on the ASU strike since 19. That's for 1999.
2020 it went for 9 months.
Yes, in 2020 it went for 9 months, which
COVID also contributed to it.
No, it's not even COVID. It's just they went on strike in March. Yes, shortly before the first case in Nigeria was recorded in February, but they went on strike in March. But just look at it. Which administration since 1999, which is 23 years ago, under which administration have you had up to 9 months of ASU strike? From this, the highest is 6 months in 2003 under Obasanjo, 5 months in 1999. Then under Goodluck Jonathan, it went for 4 months, 5 months, 59 days, 5 months in 2013. So under the PDP, it never went beyond 6 months. But here, under this administration, it has gone up to 9 months in 2020, and we are still counting for 27 months and still counting. So, I mean, on what basis will Keyamo be gloating that previous administration were not they signed unimplementable? So that's why I said you should go and see that. He's a learned person. He should not talk like somebody who didn't go through the 4 walls of school. The point is that this is not something to be making every weather of politics on. They should just solve this problem once and for all, and let normalcy be restored to our academic institutions. Because you recall, Winifred, this is admission season.
Yes, it is.
This is the season when schools are supposed to be, absorbing after the UTME and WAEC results have been released, but nothing is being done. Because what we are even talking ASU. It wasn't only ASU that went on strike. Even other unions within the schools went on strike, only that they called off their own some 2 weeks ago. And even at that, what can they do? without ASU, it's like the ASU is the head. Yes, you can't do without the leg,
The neck.
but be that as it may, you need the head. It is in the head that you have the eyes, you have the nose, you have the mouth. So yes, neck is as important.
That's what
but-
a cartoon, Mr. and Mrs. in Vanguard said, that without the woman claimed that she's the neck, that without the neck, the hair cannot stand.
Yeah, but they both need each other. I recall in my days in University of Lagos, when ASU were on strike, NASU were working. So they did all their own work, but ASU wasn't there to teach. And then when ASU came back, NASU went on strike. And lecturers were finding it difficult to do all the administrative work because it's the NASU people that will
the
cleaning, the security, and all of that. They want the utilities. They are the ones who produce water, the electricity, and all of that. So when they went on strike, even when lecturers came to class and said they want to lecture, they find the environment very unconducive. It's very unkempt. Is this students of university you'll be asking to go and clean the toilets and all of that? So there is need for industrial harmony. But the truth has to be said. I've read somewhere where they said ASU is rejecting the offer of the federal government yesterday. That would be very, very unfortunate. The truth is that whether we like it or not, this government is.
But you know what I want to find out from Jide is that, so because the federal government, should the federal government now be signing every agreement just because it wants to avert industrial action?
No. That's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying they should be.
Because it's tantamount to that.
It's lack of
now
that.
NMA is warming up. And by the time NMA's demands are met, Johesu, other health workers will also come up that, no, you answer doctors, you have to do to us, do the same thing to us. So what should we do? Should the government put its feet down and say, no more, I'm not going to sign any agreement I don't want to honor?
Well, I think that's...
Because the budget, at the end of the day, is no longer there. Our revenue has widowed.
There's no revenue. If you look at the projection for next year, they are saying that I think the MTEF, Million Times Expenditure Framework, is put at, for 2023, they are suggesting a budget of about 18 trillion. Out of this 18 trillion, 11 trillion is going to be... Servicing. No, it's going to be borrowed. Okay. To fund the so we are on net. That's a gross deficit budget. The revenue shortfall, we do not even have enough revenue to offset our debt servicing. To service the debt we are currently, we don't have enough revenue. And 2 weeks ago in my column in the point, actually 2-3 weeks, it's getting to 3 weeks now, where I wrote about the hemorrhaging economy. Look at what is happening with oil theft in the Niger Delta.
It's a cause for concern.
400,000 barrels per day being lost to oil theft. I think they just signed an agreement with Tom Polo. to government of Polo. That's one individual that I know answers government as a name. The government of Polo saying that they are now doing advance to protect the pipeline.
The thing is that it needs a holistic intervention, because I was on a hybrid, how do you call it, hybrid, to go and clean up the Niger Delta. I was on the team, and we chanced upon some military officers pilfering crude. And they were threatening to shoot us. That why would you just come like that? No, so it's a holistic.
I think yesterday
everybody's involved.
NSCDC even dissolved all their pipeline surveillance task force because they've been making a hell of money out of offering protection.
When you are sent to Niger Delta to go and as a
field officer.
Yes, field officers. Most of them they go for church for Thanksgiving, because
of course,
they are coming now.
But they also make returns and they lobby.
Yes,
they lobby to even be.
So these are things.
That is where we, as responsible citizens, that's where we are complicit.
You see, this Russian and Ukraine war. Why other countries are making profits out of the war? That is oil-producing countries. Nigeria is running at a loss.
We are running at a loss because how do you explain that in a country that has a navy, civil defense, air force, NIMASA, and all of those anti-corruption and the security agencies, that there is a pilfering to the tune of 400,000 barrels per day from your shores on daily basis.
Daily basis.
On daily basis, not even in a quarter, not even, and you see the entire Ghana oil production is about 20,000 barrels per day. So just look at that. We projected our revenue, our budget 2022 on 1.8 million barrels per day. We cannot meet that. Even OPEC has increased the quota for other countries. We are not even meeting the 1.8 that was allocated to us because of this oil theft. So the reality is that the government is broke.
Exactly. So
this government has lost every form of capacity to deal with the issue. If in seven years you are tolerating this level of economic crime.
But economists also said that there are too many leakages. You see a former AGF or a suspended AGF.
109 billion.
You said it.
That's part of what I wrote in that.
Too many leakages.
Too many leakages. Then there is even a 10 trillion unremitted funds from government-owned enterprises in 2018 under this Buhari administration. 10 trillion that could have been used to fund the budget. They could not, and these government-owned enterprises that didn't remit this one, they are still allowed. Their leadership was still kept in place. I mean, CBN is amongst them. We still have Emefiele retaining his seat. We still have Kyari, Mele Kyari retaining his seat as NNPC. Despite all this whistleblowing. And this is not a private, this is not a civil society blowing the whistle. It's even the office of budget office that in 2018 said 10 trillion was not remitted to federation account. This is within the same government. What happened to those heads of the DGs and executive secretaries of this government-owned enterprise? What has happened to them? Customs will collect money, will not remit operating surplus. FRS will collect money, will not remit operating surplus. All of them acting as if they are bugaing on us. Well, maybe incoming administration will do better.
Now, in essence of these are dwindling revenue resources. So it will be suicidal for federal government to sign an agreement. It has no intention of.
But that is where you now need the president. If after this 14-man committee, if they couldn't resolve it, the president needs to now call and preside over that meeting with us to say, look, on my honor, this is the dire situation we've faced. And I don't want to shackle the feet of incoming administration. Let's be realistic. This is the much government can do. See, the truth that we are running away from is that public universities can no longer be sustained on a free basis.
Yes.
And when you talk like this, they say, oh, it's because he has money. Yes. People do not know that I'm in debt. Heavy debt. I live on debt.
And apart from that, Nigerians do not know that federal government is actually subsidizing tertiary education. I even had to enlighten some because having covered the bid for a while, so you are in
what happened in US recently, where students are on protest begging Joe Biden to cancel their student loans. They collect loans in US to go to school.
Education is not
free, it's not cheap.
Yes, it's not.
There are three different things that enable students to go to school abroad in US and UK. 1, students loan. 2, bursary. 3, scholarship. And 4, your parents paying.
Yes, and they work too.
They work study.
And they start
work study.
They will be working to support.
Work study.
Sponsor themselves.
But in Nigeria, we want everything free. So when I keep saying that parents should also think of paying levies like 10,000.
But at the same time too, the universities too, I suppose our universities are
they are
supposed to be center of excellence. What are the research that is coming up. What are they doing? They're supposed to be coming up with research. It's not just with it.
No, they do come up with research. Some of them own patents, but you see, it's again our wrong-headed policy. In the research, we have so many research institutes
in the cupboard
that are being funded from federal government posts, whose research outputs were never used. Did you know that 22 departments and agencies are under the Ministry of Education alone? And they are drawing budgets every year. Yeah. Some of them are research institutes, education research institutes, and all of that. They have patents, but there's no support to mass produce those things. You understand? We have Raw Material Research Council, Center. We have
marketing
that the best they've done in the whole almost 18, 20 years was how to preserve kilichi. You know, the point is this is why I support Steve Oronsaye merger and acquisition of MDAs. Yes. But again, politics crept in. Yes. 2011 up to today, this 11 years after, there has not been any implementation. Buhari said to government, head of service and secretary to federal government in 2020 to implement this. They are still just looking at the white paper in 2022. Now, this administration is counting down. It has less than, maybe, I'm not sure this administration, 200 days, maybe about 200 to 300. I'm not sure the administration has up to 300 days left. Because even though election is like 6 months' time, is it up to 6 months? It's just about 6 months, give or minus, about 6 months' time. Then the handover will be in 7 months' time. Now, how much of change have we seen under the APC leadership? The answer is there is much of same. With all the campaigns that it will not be business as usual, it has been business as usual. And that's why when this administration, when they castigate PDP for 16 years of misrule, I asked, what has changed? Look at the electricity. As at the time Goodluck Jonathan was defeated in 2015, we were already on 4,000 megawatts of electricity. We were. Now, we have not been able to put extra 1,000 since then. And yet, a lot of budgetary allocation has gone into electricity. We have not been able to resolve the problem of pipeline vandalism. We've not been able to resolve the problem of oil theft. We've not been able to resolve the problem of unremitted operating surplus or funds into federation account. We've not been able to resolve the issue of corruption. IPPIS that they are touting as an anti-corruption tool. Is it not the manager of that system?
It has become a leaking pipe.
My sister, sometimes discussing Nigeria gives me a headache. It's just so unfortunate
very unfortunate.
And that's why people are not really excited about politics and elections again, because they've not really.
People are not excited. When we are going to be talking about politics, electoral laws, in the second half of our program. So we are going on a break now, our viewers. Don't forget, we have another session coming up where we'll be talking about politics. INEC has published a list of accredited registers, and Jide Ojo, who is an expert on electoral law, will be taking us on that. Don't go away. Stay tuned.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Welcome back. You're still on to Inside Nigeria, reaching you on Leadership Television. My name is Winifred Bebo, and with me in the studio has been Mr. Jide Ojo. Jide Ojo is a triple chief, as I fondly call him. He's a public affairs analyst, a TV host, and a syndicated columnist. Thank you so much once again for being with me today's midweek program.
My pleasure, Winnie.
Yes. Well, viewers, we are going to be talking politics. Like a few days ago, Peter Obi's how do I supporters were asked to, in a talk in US to pay about was it $250, and has created public discourse with many saying that Peter Obi is stingy. So why would they go? Somebody like Farouk Obi, why would he go and spend that amount just to listen to him speak? Whilst some are claiming that that is public funding, that he should ask the INEC should disqualify him on that basis. So, Jide, what's your take?
Well, incidentally, I engaged this issue in my column in the Punch of today, which is both in print and online. And the title of that article, which I would recommend to those watching and listening to us to read, is The Do's and Don'ts of Political Campaign in Nigeria.
Yes.
And I engaged this particular issue. See, the controversy has been that crowdfunding, is it legitimate or illegitimate? And I say it's legitimate, perfectly legitimate for you to engage in crowdfunding. Obama did it in US in 2008 and even in 2012. He did it to raise funds for his campaign, and it has not been criminalized in our laws. But what I said, what Peter Obi's supporters need to be aware of is Section 88 of the Electoral Act. Now, the first thing is that individual donation. Individuals cannot donate more than 50 million naira to support a candidate. And it says naira, not dollars.
Okay.
So it's the local currency. You may as well have to convert it. But but the more important thing is not even that, because when you go crowdfunding, you are not likely going to see one individual putting 50 million to support individual. It's not like it's not impossible. People can give that much, but what you need to be wary of is, if I'm putting down my 50 million, what is in it for me? That means I'm not donating charity. I'm donating with the expectation of getting something back. So is it going to be contract? Is it going to be appointments and all of that? So because there is no free lunch in Freetown. But the more important one, which I flagged, is that yes, crowdfunding is legit, and what that having that kind of dialogue where you ask people to pay to come and listen is also okay. You may choose to go or not to go, but what is not permitted by law is excessive spending. The Section 88 subsection 2 of the Electoral Act says no presidential candidate should spend more than 5 billion on his campaign. Now, from what I read in THISDAY of last Wednesday, they are looking at it, support groups in diaspora are looking at 100 billion naira within Nigeria and 150 million US dollar from abroad. Now, if you total this, you are looking at the best election money can buy. It's because if you convert 150 million dollars, that's provided. Yes, that's in the event that they are even able to raise that much. How that means you want to come and do vote buying, because the law have said you cannot spend more than 5 billion
for presidential
candidates. For 5 months of your campaign, you can spend more than 5 billion. And Peter Obi himself have said he's very rich and richer than Joe Biden. So why should I be bringing my own thorough and penny to support somebody who is a billionaire on his own and who is richer than US president? And look at Joe Biden. Oh. Joe Biden has been a senator for 34 years,
yes,
being vice president for 8 years, and now 3 years or thereabout into his presidency. And just one person who engages in trading.
But is there any parameter that INEC can use to measure how much is actually spent in campaigns?
Yes, there are things we can track, and I've been involved in campaign finance tracking for
That's
INEC.
why I asked you to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There are things you track to know how much has been spent. That is our trade secret. If you want to engage me, I can do that.
You don't
I don't want to also give those who are. Let INEC do his bit. Yes, it's very easy. It's not that it's very easy, but you cannot have exactly amounts that somebody has spent, but you can have an estimate, an approximate of what he has spent, and you know when somebody has exceeded the campaign finance limit, and there are punishments. That's why I recommend people who are watching and listening to Google. Do a Google search.
Punch newspaper.
Do a Google search, and the title. The title is Do's and Don'ts. Do's and Don'ts of Political Campaign in Nigeria. So people can read it to get educated, because ignorance of the law is not an excuse. So if
that is one thing that police is always eager to.
Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. If they tell you, if the law say you cannot spend more than 5 billion, and about 50 billion could be traced to you, you have already run foul of the law.
Now that,
and there is punishment, both financial and jail time, that you risk if you are caught. So that's why they need to err on the side of caution.
He said, just like you mentioned, that the campaign group in diaspora said they are going to raise
150 million. Yeah. So 150 million is far in excess of what the law says. And I don't want to go. There is a broader argument about whether funds from abroad is allowed to be brought into this country. Well, what the electoral law and the constitution and the electoral act said is that political parties are not allowed funding from abroad. Political parties. So we need to make a distinction between a candidate and his political party, because Peter Obi will have a campaign organization that is independent of Labour Party. So you cannot, and it is Labour Party that cannot receive funds from abroad. But as individual, I'm saying yes, it's legit. The law says individual can donate as much as 50 million. It used to be 1 million in the electoral 2010. It used to be you can't donate more than 1 million. But now they have said that you can donate up to no, I think it's 5 million, if I'm not mistaken, so that I don't mislead people. It's 5 million.
That's individual.
Individuals cannot donate more than 5 million to the Section 88, subsection 8 of the Electoral Act. Then the penalties are in Section 88, subsection 9, 10, and 11. That talked about punishment for individuals who donated above 5 million individuals, and then if a presidential candidates donate more than spend more than 5 billion, what the penalty that fails. So people need to read read and be guided. But you see, this has also thrown up another thing. How there is a trust issue. How will you know exactly how much these people have generated? The managers of the crowdfunding. Some people are already positioning themselves to be the manager of that. So it's good if you pay through a portal. You can track how much has been raised through. But there will be those who write in checks. There will be those who will say, okay, come and take, and will not go through the portal. So how will you, the issue of accountability of such funds, but it's an internal affair of the campaign organization. The one that concerns us as general public is not whether they are truthful to
Themselves.
declaring how much they get. Because I know this generated a lot of furore for Showore in 2019 when they opened the portal to generate income. His members of his party, AAC, said he did not account for the money and he spent it lavishly. He was living large in a 5-star hotel and all of that. So it generated a lot of bad blood within the AAC. So I hope this 100 billion naira, when the money start rolling it, they should not cause it, because when money is involved, that's why you now see the Labour Party leadership quarreling with the campaign organization. How did you manage that? We saw on your portal you have made about 50 billion. How did you spend it? Why didn't you give it to the party to spend? So they need to be very careful about the backlash this can have. Yes, Peter Obi is a rave of the moment.
So you are saying that he was actually in right order by,
to do crowdfunding is not criminal. It's legit.
As taking him to the cleaners that he had no.
No. So I just told you, Showore did this. Even Vice President Oshibajo did it during the party primaries this year. Even Oshibajo caught me on this. I was on AIT to discuss the legality of it. I was on AIT Kakake on AIT to discuss when Oshibajo opened the portal to get support, and I was raising issue along the path of accountability. How do these people intend to spend this money? Assuming without considering that they were able to raise this gargantuan sum, how did they? And then you have this money coming from. There is a bigger responsibility to the party that says you also must have identity and the amount that each person gives to the party if it's above 100,000 naira. But because the law makes distinction between party and the candidate. Now, if the candidate is able to raise much money, I tell you, the party will become envious. And then they will be asking for a cut. Because it will be like, we gave you the platform. Where were you coming from before? We need to have a percentage of what you raise. And that may destroy the party.
Yes.
And so they might just they need to be very careful how this crowdfunding is done. I know many people will be willing to donate to Peter Obi because they see him as the face of change. They see him as a clear break from the establishment. They see him as a flicker of hope for 2023. But it's not only money, you also need to win elections. We keep saying that you need structure. You may be a billionaire, and Peter Obi is a billionaire. He's a very successful businessman. He runs chains of supermarkets and all of that. Chairman of Fidelity Bank, and then, of course, next supermarket across. Yes, he's very rich. But it's not only money you need to win elections. There are sentiments that comes with elections beyond money. CDD released a report that says the IPOB agitation may even hurt Peter Obi, even in the Southeast. Because if your people are calling the country zoo, and you have not known to come out openly to denounce them, you are not known to have openly dissociated yourself from that agitation.
Yes.
You now want votes of other parts of the country to vote you when they said they don't believe in Nigeria. I don't know whether
I understand. Yes, I'm with you.
So you need to manage expectations. Because now people will take him to cleaners when time comes for him to be
it's
a
just few weeks away.
From some, by the time you start organizing town hall and all of that,
is starting
on the 28th, that's it. So people will ask him those pointed questions. Where do you stand on issue of IPOB agitation?
That was what his VP said, candidate,
Mhm.
He said, I asked him before he accepted to be, he said he wanted to know his stance on IPOB, that I want you to publicly disown them.
Denounce and
Denounce
denouce.
them. He said,
Has he done so?
he said he did. That was how he accepted. I'm quoting
Yeah,
that.
yeah, but
I'm quoting that.
I'm not sure. Maybe he did to him, but to the public, I'm not sure he has openly distanced himself. I'm not sure.
And they themselves also issue press release distancing themselves from him.
From
that he's
Peter.
not part of, that he's not part of.
No, they said he's not a member and it's not their sponsor.
Yes, it's not
but you see, the good news is that IPOB agitation has reduced. It has de-escalated since he started gaining media traction.
Yes.
You will see that they are not as vicious. In fact, the IPOB is even saying that they are going to go after the criminal elements. Yesterday was Monday.
Think about it. Yeah.
No, yes.
Not that you have brought it.
I am telling you, it has de-escalated. They are not. Even their Monday shutdown. Yesterday, I was surprised. Weekend was in. Was it yesterday or Monday? On Monday. Today is Wednesday. Weekend was in Aba. In Abia. It was on Monday. No, it was on Monday. He commissioned different projects yesterday. But it was on Monday he went to commission a bridge, the first flyover bridge in Abia State, built by Governor Okezekwe. So that was where he said nobody can break their ranks. So this was done on a Monday, and you need to see the mammoth crowd that came out. Meanwhile, you said sit at home on Monday. So you can see that the political temperature is calming. It has de-escalated.
That you mentioned it, I think it's true.
And that's why I said, in my initial agitation for Igbo presidency, that please, let's have an affirmative action that will give Igbo presidency in 2023. But unfortunately, even Igbo leaders do not believe in Igbo presidency for 2023. Look at OUK. Oji Uzo Kalu went to visit Tinubu 2 days ago.
And it's the same OUK that said he was ready to be a cleaner in the villa.
With the president of the Ahmed Lawan. And so now he has gone to, you did see the viral video where he went to visit Ashiwaju on Monday. He went there. So, and of course, David Maria said that the vote of Ebonyi people is for APC. Then Opus Oduma said that the vote of Imo people is for APC. Now, so you now see, if this man does not have the home front, where does he intend to get the multitude of the votes that he needs? Because we are looking not at all these people saying Emilokon chanting and doing show of force. So those 5,000 people that are marching on the street to show solidarity with P2B are not the numbers you need to win election in Nigeria. There are possible 95 million votes you'll be scrambling for.
85 million.
No, 95. 95. The number of registered voters now is about 96 million. And I believe by the time they do the weeding, the removal of all the multiple registrars, that the number may come to about 95. Now, whether it's even 85, all these people doing street march, if you take a count, will you get up to 1 million at any of them? And some of them don't even have the PVCs. No. So you need more than money.
Even some journalists shouting themselves over social media. They don't even. I can't even name names. Those
who are even taking sides to say that this is the person that must win. Many of them don't have PVCs. But you see, the point I'm making is that yes, you need crowdfunding, you need money to contest election in Nigeria. In fact, you need more than the 5 billion that the law permits you. But the point is, even with all the money in the World Bank, you may still not win. Because the structure people are talking about is such that you need what officials, local governments, states, and these are the channels through which you fund, you mobilize for your campaign to get to the grassroots. And that's the grassroots that votes. People in those remote villages, they are the ones, not the urban.
You see that is what Baba Oloye.
Yeah. Yes, that's what he does.
All those old women, old men.
Yeah, they are the ones that, because they are the ones that are used as foot soldiers. Yes, so you need but the point is, it's too early in the day to say who is in a pole position to win 2023 presidential election coming up in about 6 months or thereabouts. So I would just wish all of them good luck.
Thank you so much. That is where we are calling it a day on today's Inside Nigeria on Leadership Television. With me in the studio has been Mr. Jide Ojo, public affairs analyst, TV host, and a syndicated columnist. I am going for the web. We look forward to seeing you same time, same station tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080
apart from this,
6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
We are not doing plenty. We want to start doing plenty now.
Okay.
We do